Hello, 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 everyone. Come in here. Come in. Welcome to the show. We have a lot to talk about today. I'm actually going to try to change the format a bit. Um, it's going to be slightly different. I collected a bunch of different news snippets that have happened over the last 2 days, and a lot is happening. A lot is happening in the Middle East, and specifically with regards to Iran. Um, so we're going to talk about. I'm going to show a map practically of what the difference between the current control of the IDF compared to what it was when the Gaza deal was signed. Because Hamas is not willing to disarm, Israel is slowly encroaching on their territory. Territory that I mean they're not supposed to hold; they're supposed to disarm, and so they don't really have a claim for this territory. And to the extent that they refuse to do that, to relinquish control, um, they're basically breaking the deal. And so IDF has a green light to, at some point, go in and handle Hamas because no other country was willing to do that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Saudi Arabia nuclear energy pact. Um, because this has been a roller coaster. And actually, just now we've had a very interesting update, and that's the seismic shift in the Middle East that we're going to talk about. We have Trump's interest in who will be the next head of the UN. Rubio talking about Iran and the chances for negotiations. A huge new security deal, presumably one of several upcoming ones between Israel and a European country. Um, yeah, so we have a lot going on, and perhaps we'll also see Sapir come in again, and we'll finish having our conversation about Eisenkot. Again, Eisenkot, for those who do not remember, he is the currently, based on most polls, he's the current leader in terms of having the largest party. It's yet to be seen whether he's going to be able to form a coalition, or whether he'll be able to form a coalition where he is the un um, undisputed head, or whether he'll need to go into a unity government. At which point you might have 2 years where one person is in charge and 2 years where the other person is in charge, or something along those lines. But hopefully, we'll get Sapir back on in like an hour to discuss Eisenkot, the things he said in the past before October 7th. Try to really analyze what he's likely to bring to the table as the leader of Israel. So, with all that, I already have a couple of good questions to talk about. So, Boboism is asking, is Lefty Herzog's Shin Bet warning a dip state spin? So Herzog is the president of Israel. It's mostly a symbolic role. He is in charge. It's like a king in monarchies, except he is replaced every, I believe, 8 years. So uh, if what I'm talking about now is not what you meant, then feel free to clarify in the chat. Oh, wait, my nemesis is here. Hello, Rebecca. That is your real name. I assume it's Rebecca, because that's the only nemesis I know of that I have. Okay. So, what you're talking about, Bobo, I think, is about keeping the elections intact, and preventing interference. I if this is if if this is the one I'm talking about, I don't think it's a deep state spin. I think there are genuine attempts by multiple countries to interfere with Israeli election. It's not in the sense of changing votes or changing counts and so on. Israel only has paper ballots. Israel does not have voting machines at all. It's not a thing. There are people in Israel, conspiracy theorists on both sides, who would say there is an attempt to undermine the election and have the wrong person be elected and shift votes and so on. That's not what was referred to by Herzog and Shin Bet, and there was one other person in the meeting. I don't remember who. But Herzog and the head of the Shin Bet talked about external attempts to undermine Israeli elections and sway people. I have no reason to doubt that that's real. Also, the statement was made alongside the head of the Shin Bet, and the head of the Shin Bet would not go along with something like that because, like, if anything, he is the argument is that he is biased towards Netanyahu. I disagree with this argument for several reasons. If people would want, I can talk about it more. But I don't. But he would not go along with a deep state attempt to undermine the right, for example, which is what would arguably be Herzog's play if he was being cynical here. Another question from Bobo. Bobo came in hot and heavy with a lot of good questions. Chances for the push for a broad Zionist government, my take is 10% chance. I actually think this is the most likely government. And I can explain why. So now that we have let me open up my handy graph that I made at the time. Where is it? Okay, this is the one. All right. So again, so this would be Eisenkot. He is currently slightly ahead in the polls. He's about around head to head with Likud. I personally think Likud is Netanyahu's party. I personally think the polls are underselling the right wing bloc. I think it's going to be higher than it's given here. Right in this poll, it's given about 50 or 51. Oh no, this is not the right one. This is no. Okay, this is the right one. So there was a party that was doubled. So in this image, they are given around 50 or 51 seats. And practically speaking, there'll probably be, I think, closer to 55. I think both would have around the same. 55 as things stand right now. Towards the election, I see it as more like both at like 53. Something along those lines. Wait, does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. 50. Around 50 to 51 is what I would say. Because right now you have one unity party that's a pro-Eisenkot unity party. In other words, it's if neither side has a government with only Zionist parties, it's going to force a unity government. But if Eisenkot does have a unity government, or sorry, not a unity government, does have a government that wouldn't require using the Arab parties that are anti-Zionist, but would be possible with this new party. It's the Tropper party, the Chili Tropper, and Yoaz Hendel. We'll call this the Left Unity Party. Then in that case, then this party is willing to give them the seats they need to finalize to have a government, but they wouldn't do the same for the right wing bloc. So right now we have that party, and it's hovering at 4, which 4 is the threshold. Under 4, you have nothing. Under 4, your seats randomly get distributed across the other parties. But there are other actors who are going to join in that block, And as soon as they do, no one has a chance by their own of passing the threshold, and they're going to burn a lot of votes unless they run together as one party. And if they run together as one party, they're going to have to make a compromise, namely that they will have to force that their portfolio to be unity government or nothing else. And if they run together, already just one of those sides that has a very explicit like left of center position on the unity front is going to it's borderline on the threshold. If you have all of them together, they'll almost definitely be well above the threshold. And the issue is that if this party exists, neither side can have a government without it. And so I think the way things are headed right now, it's either a broad Zionist government or a re-election. And things are not going to change on a re-election. So what's going to have to happen, and also game theoretically, like one of the parties that already exist that's underneath the threshold is saying basically something along the lines of, we are going, if one side makes an honest move towards the other side, like a fair move, and the other side basically refuses, we're going to go with the side that made the offer. And so game theoretically, that's a smart thing to do because it forces, like, assuming everyone's a rational actor, it basically forces a unity government because one side has the incentive of making a good faith attempt at forming a unity government. And once that happens, the other side should accept it because otherwise they're not going to be in the government, or at least negotiate in good faith. Like have a good faith negotiation for, no, I don't like this, but I do want this, and it's like a reasonable thing. And so because under the this game theoretic framework, it's very likely that a unity government will be forced to rise, because otherwise there's not going to be a government, and both sides would have a reason to make good faith attempts towards it. So I hope that answers your question. Your next question is Ben Gvir's condition that the Attorney General will be fired. So can you clarify condition for what? This is the firing of the Attorney General is the position of the entire coalition. And from their perspective, they're absolutely justified because the Attorney General has very much overstepped her boundary. You could argue it's because she sees a genuine threat to Israeli democracy, and so she's like justified in doing it. I disagree. But there's no argument that she has overstepped her boundaries and went well above and beyond what her job description is. So before I answer the Ben Gvir question, once you clarify, Bobo, in the chat, I'm going to go through the rest of the chat and see what people are saying. Hey, Dr. Ellert. Hey, Jose. Yay, Jose's here. Okay. This is a good question. So Zupa Wabbit, as you can see, it's super Bugs Bunny. Hi, Guy. If Iran knocks out Gulf desalination plants, how could 40+ million people realistically be evacuated? I have absolutely no knowledge of the topic, like how evacuations would work. The short of it is, if they knock out the desalination plants, it's a huge problem, and so all efforts should go to prevent this from happening. Like evacuating many millions of people because they don't have water is a biblical level event. I mean, that's literally the story of most of the Bible. Like taking countless people through a waterless desert. So you need God's intervention, I think, to succeed. Okay, so Bobo is saying to participate in a coup government. Okay, so Ben Gvir is posturing. So in that case, it's a posture. Because, if they don't fire the attorney general, I'm not going to be part of the government. Well, okay, well, they all want to do it anyway. It's just a way for you to take credit for it. You, Ben Gvir. So it's meaningless. It's just posturing and to be able to take credit for when she is fired. If there's another right-wing government, she will be fired. It's already, like, the law already passed. It allows them to do it. It's a meaningless posturing. Okay, Joanne is asking, guy saw something about Israel having new/secret defense against the Shahed drone. By the way, it's not Shahed. It's not the head of a Shah. It's Shahed. It's an Islamic concept. It's so the Shahada is the La ilaha illallah. So that's the root that Shahed comes from. Okay. And yes, I do know something about this. I believe it is called DroneLight. 30 interceptions a minute, an Israeli startup's drone solution. It's a laser-based solution, like all next-gen defensive solutions. They're very cheap. Like, the problem right now, so I'll stop screen sharing for a second. The problem right now with THAADs and Arrow missiles and all these kinds of solutions is that each one is an order of magnitude at least more expensive than the problem it's trying to solve. And so the shooter has an interest in shooting, even if everything gets intercepted, just because with the amount they pay per drone is way smaller than the amount that interceptors would take. The amount of money and the complexity, which means, like, and also, like, as a result, constructing drones is going to be much easier than constructing defensive solutions against drones. The laser solutions that are both for missiles, so you have Oreitan is what it's called, the anti-missile laser solution, and DroneLight, which is supposed to become operational in September, by the way. At least initially, it's supposed to be deployed in September. Use a laser mechanism that is very, very cheap, like dirt cheap, like the amount that it costs to operate the electricity, basically, after, like, per usage. Obviously, the device itself has a cost built into it, but that's a one-time cost. It's like buying the machine that creates something. That's a one-time thing. And so the laser solutions are going to fundamentally shift the equation such that it would no longer make economic sense for people to shoot missiles or drones at the countries that have these solutions. This actually goes into something I was planning to talk about later. Okay. And another question by Bobo. I asked AI which of the two nationalist parties would accept me as an agnostic Jew. The answer surprised me. Ben Gvir more than Smotrich, no problem, as I like Kahana and his ideas. Oh, I do not like Kahana and his ideas. Yeah, but the two far right parties. Here's the thing: Ben Gvir's party fundamentally is branding itself as a hawkish party, not as a religious party. Smotrich's party is a religious party. So Ben Gvir himself is very religious, and also there are a lot of religious people in his party, but he also has some secular people who think that we need some law and order solutions. But it's not a fundamentally messianic party as such. It's just very hard right. It's very hawkish. Oh, hey, starting fresh is here. Shalom, shalom. Got here late playing mahjong. Enjoy the mahjong. Okay. Good. So with that, I would like to remind everyone that I will also read all super chats. So feel free to send super chats. I am capable of reading them. We have the technology. All right. So let's get into the news. First of all, today is Tisha B'Av. It started last night because days in Judaism start from sundown to sundown, like go from sundown to sundown, as opposed to some arbitrary point in the middle of the night. I mean, it's not arbitrary; it's the opposite of midday. But but it's not something like the Jewish calendar is very old, and so it uses recognizable celestial bodies to decide what time it is. And as a result, you can't have a midnight where you don't see the sun and there's no real way of recognizing what the time is. But you can use sundown. So that's how the Jewish calendar works. And Tisha B'Av, or the 9th of Av, Av is a month in the Jewish calendar, is the saddest day of the Jewish calendar. And it commemorates the destruction of both the first and second temples in Jerusalem, which occurred, I mean, several thousand years ago, before Christ, and in the original Jewish kingdom, there was the fall of the first temple, then it was rebuilt, and there was the fall of the second temple and the exile of the Jews out of Israel. So the first temple, built by Solomon, was destroyed in 586 BCE by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar II. And the second temple was destroyed by the Romans under Titus. Okay, so the second temple was after Jesus, so it's 70 CE, and that marked the start of the Roman exile that lasted for, practically speaking, 2,000 years until we're able to return, or almost 2,000 years. Now, usually this day is observed by fasting. So there's a 25-hour fast, 1 hour before the day switches. Is like in Judaism, a lot of times, also for Shabbat, you have like cushions like this to ensure that you don't accidentally to ensure that you don't accidentally do something you're not supposed to on the day. You don't wait until the actual moment of the day to start doing it. You have like a cushioning of an hour beforehand. It's true for Shabbat and it's true for fasting. So it's a 25-hour fast. And you're also, unlike regular fast, you're not supposed to eat or drink, or I mean, you're not supposed to eat or drink. That's true for all fasts, but you're also not supposed to wash your body. Also, wearing leather, or have sex. So it's like a more strict version of a fast. Okay, so that's Tisha B'Av, and that's happening today. I'm not fasting. Most secular Jews do not fast. But and also there's you read the book of Eicha, the book of Lamentations, along with Kinot, which are poems of mourning. So so that's Tisha B'Av, and that's today. So just thought you might be interested in knowing that. And now let's move into some of the news. As I said, we have a lot to get through. So here's I'm going to summarize an interview I saw recently by Eliana Johnson on Hugh Hewitt. Maybe I'll post the link in the chat for those interested, and I'll quickly summarize the clip. And this clip basically says why I think Vance is playing his cards very badly, and is probably too terminally online. And it might. So Vance has already put it out there a while ago that he might not run because he has a newborn. And I think we'd all be happy if that happens. Because like he only can be at this time with his children once, and he can always run again in the future, even though there's an issue of momentum. But um, nevertheless, I think one, it's commendable. I like really, it is commendable for him to put his family first like that. And that's one of the qualities that I do very much like about JD Vance. And two, I mean, we all want Rubio. I mean, let's be real. So, or most people in this community want Rubio. So I would be very happy if this happens. But regardless, so the topic of conversation is the clip is called "The Skepticism Young Voters on Both Sides Have Towards Israel." So here's the actual data from recent polls. A recent Free Beacon. So the first half of the interview addresses the disparity between anti-Israel sentiment on social media and actual voter data. So, for example, a recent Free Beacon Echelon Insights poll shows that Republican primary voters overwhelmingly back a strong U.S.-Israel relationship by a margin of plus 57 percentage points. Plus 57 means like 70 to 13. 74, 13 against. It's not particularly close. The same poll indicates these voters support a presidential candidate who explicitly denounces anti-Semitism by a margin of plus 52 points. So, I mean, this is not even close. The turnout reality. Johnson notes that while anti-Israel skepticism is highly visible on X, among younger demographics, this group has statistically lower voter turnout. The older demographic, which votes reliably, remains resolutely pro-Israel. And I think that's especially true for the young, like those disillusioned young people who are anti-Semitic and think that Israel and the Jews are the problem of everything. They're not staunchly Republican. They have a problem with the Republican Party, so they're not as likely to identify with the Republican Party, and they're not as likely to try to affect its voting patterns, like to register as Republicans and so on. And also, I mean, there's institutional pushback within the Republican establishment, much unlike the Democrats, against the anti-Israel fringe. And for example, we can see like Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie lost his election. Like, it's not as popular and overwhelming as people think. Now, it could be that Vance is playing the long game. He's going to be a politician for a long time, and he might be sacrificing this election, perhaps because he decided not to run, in the hope of gaining traction among the youth when they become more serious voters in the future. Let's say if he runs again in like 8 years, after Rubio has had 2 terms and won in a landslide on both accounts. As you know, I really love Rubio. Yeah, so in that sense, I mean, that the interview touches on other topics, but that's the main one. Like, I don't think Rubio's play right now is helping him in the polls for this election. It could be that he knows this and is making a longer play for future elections. But right now he is sinking himself. Okay, let's see if there's anything new in the chat. No. Okay, few other topics. So I found this map. I talked in the last stream. I talked about the yellow line and how Israel is slowly encroaching on the territory that is held by Hamas. This map shows how this is done. So this is the original yellow line, 53% or so of the area. And we can see that this is the practical map of control right now. There is slow movement inwards toward towards where Hamas is in control. And so now, according to this analyst, Israel is in control of 62% of the Gaza Strip. Many people are saying 70%, He has not managed to arrive at that calculation, but he's saying that maybe it's something that just wouldn't be visible. Like, he's not saying it's wrong. It's just there are ways to count that might not be visible from satellite imagery, which is this is a satellite analyst, an open source satellite imagery analyst. Okay, so that's one thing. Next, I'll go through some of the stories we've had over the last few days. So the original, like how it started, how it's going. The original reporting by Reuters was Trump to seek congressional approval for Saudi Arabia nuclear energy pact that lacks safeguards and also would not require normalization with Israel. And then, like, we've had some reporting along those lines. And now, let me find it. Okay. Rubio. This is what Rubio originally, when he was talking about it last night, he was a bit cagey. Like, I'll let the White House respond. People thought maybe he's against the deal, doesn't want to talk about it. Today, he came out. Now, today is why is he up so early? I think he's in the Philippines, because I like these comments came out like early, like Israel early, and so I would assume he's somewhere in the east. So Philippines. I mean, it says Philippines here, but it also would make sense just timing wise. If there's an audio problem, let me know. Okay, so people are saying no sound. So 1 second, let me take care of that. Uno momento, por favor. Okay. Now it should be fine.
I'll let the agreement speak for itself. Suffice it to say that any agreement that we're going to make with any country in the world on civil nuclear energy is going to be one that will have safeguards in place to ensure that it can't be turned into a weapons program. And one of the best safeguards is to make sure that American technology and American companies are the ones that are involved in doing it. If, on the other hand, a country pursues nuclear technology with another country, well, then we don't really control those safeguards. So again, Saudi Arabia seeks to have a peaceful civil nuclear program. Other countries do as well. We have a similar agreement in place now with the UAE, and U.S. companies are the world standard in providing that. And so we are always looking for opportunities, by the way, not just in conventional reactors, but in small modular reactors, which is an area that we are increasingly around signing MOUs all over the world to help do as well.
Okay, so sounds a bit better. And then, so he was a bit cagey about it last night. He's also away, so I think he probably wanted to talk to the people in charge to really get the handle on the details. Then Trump said this: the civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material, being made between the United States Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains only to non-military use, has to be non-military, such as the ones that Iran and UAE and others already have, will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful, everyone's saying this, Abraham Accords. I like to call it Abraham. The United States is not opposed to civil, non-enriched nuclear facilities. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. So that's a bit different than what everyone was saying over the last 24 hours. People were very, very worried here. This is so a couple of things about this deal. So they did sign the deal. So Shoal's saying, I thought they already signed it. They did sign the deal, but it's a deal that is provisional. It has to be approved by Congress, and it's subject to, from what I understand now, details haven't been exposed to the public properly yet. But from what I understand, they signed a deal that they will now start a 2-year process of assessment of feasibility and how to do it and so on. So nothing is happening yet. The deal, from what I understand, it's sort of like an MOU in the sense that we're agreeing that in principle we want to do this. Now we have to iron out the details, and it can always fall on the details. And if one of the details is signing the Abraham Accords, because like the details also have to do with security concerns, and security concerns could be we don't want the region to stay volatile. If the region is not volatile, this is not a problem. One of the ways to make the region not volatile is signing the Abraham Accords, making peace with Israel. So Amir is saying, hey, Amir, letting Saudi enrich uranium for peaceful purposes is the dumbest thing I've heard USA done. So their details really, really matter. It's not Saudi enriching uranium. And by the way, he explicitly said no enrichment is going to happen. That's what the Truth Social post just now said. That was false, apparently, or a mischaracterization of the deal, or Trump is lying, right? It's always possible that Trump is lying. But based on what he's saying now, it explicitly says non-enriched. Like there will be no enrichment, and the kind of nuclear facility they're talking about here. One, Egypt already has one, Iran already has one, UAE already has one. This is not the same as enrichment. You can use it for electricity without actually enriching. You can have that be done offshore, and there are several solutions. Also, I'm not a nuclear scientist by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't quite know everything about this. But you can have a nuclear energy solution that does not allow for enrichment. Now the issues were like this is not supervised by IAEA. One of the reasons, presumably, is Americans will be the people doing this. This will be not Saudis, but it will be American companies doing it on Saudi soil. As I think someone else said in the chat. Let's see if I can quickly find it. Yeah, okay. So Shaul is saying it'll be American companies running the nuclear program. Exactly. For civilian purposes. And so it's not a big deal. It's the kind of facility that already exists in several places across the Middle East, including in Iran. This type of facility is already operational and completed in Iran. The problem is the enrichment that then you can transform things. But that's very different, and that's not what this deal is. Okay, so Durka Donuts. So actually, you might know about this more than me. So feel free to educate me. Please write it in the way that it would be very easy for me to understand as someone who's a layperson in this field. But fast breeders are used to recycle spent fuel. They are the same plants that can enrich fuel. I think, first of all, if this is run by Americans, that wouldn't be a problem because they're not going to enrich. And also, the same plants that can enrich in theory, but I think you need extra stuff. From my, again, layperson understanding, so feel free to correct me now in the chat and educate me on this. So that's the nuclear deal. Started like Trump is throwing Israel under the bus, and everything is bad, and he's being completely irresponsible. And then once the details come out, it's like, oh, okay. So Jasper from the group discussions, by the way, group discussions, everyone, I do them every Monday. Very highly recommend. You can come in and have some in-depth discussions with me. Ask me questions, ask me follow-up questions, have my undivided attention. So Jasper is saying the Gulf countries have emergency water storage. If the water is rationed, then it can last a few weeks, perhaps months, depending on how strict the rationing is. That means that there is some times, if so for example, if one person uses 5 liters per day, then 250 million liter tanker with fresh water could supply 50 million people for a day. So there is some times to do repairs or evacuate. So that's good to know. However, I mean, still, think you'll agree with me. Um, you agree with me that that's still very difficult to do. You really want to avoid. I didn't think necessarily there would be a Holocaust level event of people dying of thirst. But it's a very, very difficult operation. Okay, so Amir's asking a question in Hebrew. I'm not going to put it up because most people wouldn't understand it. But it's not. I mean, it's semantics. Like it's the issue is you can have nuclear energy without enrichment in a way that would also allow for creating a bomb, because like enrichment is like 90% of the process. If you can, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but from reading experts, let's see if I can actually find a specific statement that I put here. It's in Hebrew, but I'll try to translate it. Okay. Translate. So this is from a military analyst. In response to the Truth Social post by Trump. As long as President Trump adheres to the 2 principles outlined in his latest tweet, that Saudi Arabia will not be allowed to enrich uranium, and that the implementation of the agreement is contingent upon its joining the Abraham Accords, then the 2 points that most concerned Israel have been neutralized. As President Trump also noted, civilian nuclear reactors already exist in the United Arab Emirates and Iran. The light water reactor in Bushehr is not part of a military nuclear program, and are in advanced stages of construction in Turkey and Egypt. A civilian reactor for electricity generation in Saudi Arabia without an accompanying enrichment facility does not fundamentally change this picture and cannot be used to produce nuclear weapons. The concern was that a Saudi enrichment facility would encourage other countries in the region to demand and establish their own enrichment facilities. Regarding the second point, President Trump is not only not abandoning the use of the carrot of civilian nuclear energy to promote normalization with Saudi Arabia, as it seemed yesterday, but he's actually making the implementation of the agreement conditional upon it. Israel cannot ask for more, at least until the president's next tweet, of course. So, okay. All right. Yeah. So Matan is saying, to Amir, different levels for power enrichment and weapons enrichment. That's not the issue. Amir is right in that enrichment to any level on Saudi soil is problematic because it's very hard. It's very easy to go from the levels of enrichment for power to the levels of enrichment for weapons. It's fundamentally the same technology, and you do it in the same place. It's just about how long the centrifuges work. Again, for my layperson, like reading into it and looking into how this works. And so having an enrichment facility is itself a problem. So Amir is right on that. The idea is, or the calming part is that they're not going to have enrichment facilities. They're going to have a nuclear reactor controlled by America, the new gen, the Gen 4, I think. It's very light, very efficient, not prone to disasters at all, by the way. Like it's not so far any nuclear disaster in history was decades old nuclear facilities. We since have much better technology. And so the reactor itself is going to be on Saudi soil, but that's fine. Let's see. Okay, so Show is saying the concern for the Saudi Arabia deal is that if the government gets overthrown by the radical group, that the radical group will have access to it. Yes, but they still will have to build the enrichment facilities from scratch. I mean, that's what happened in Iran. They had nuclear facilities for civilian purposes, and then the regime was overthrown, and then they started building enrichment facilities. But you still, I mean, once that, the problem nevertheless is still just the enrichment facilities. It's not the nuclear reactor itself. It's a step toward, like, it makes it easier, but you still have to build the whole nuclear facility, which they're not going to be able to do quickly, and they will be stopped. Even if the regime falls, then there is a risk to this, but it's not a huge risk. Like, especially in Saudi Arabia, that is not as mountainous as Iran. It's mostly sand. It's like a desert country, so they won't be able to hide it underneath mountains like Iran is able to, like the regime is able to in Iran. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, so Shul is saying what I was saying. Same thing happened with Iran. U.S. built Iran's first nuclear reactor and gave them blueprints under the Shah. Then Islamic Republic took over and pursued nuclear weapons. Yes. And Ronnie's saying there's also no reason to enrich uranium beyond what's needed for power. It only serves a purpose to make weapons with it. Absolutely. But you don't want them to be able to enrich at all, because then it becomes, it's easy to enrich past that point. And then other countries would also want to be able to enrich, and then you just one regime change away from having a potential nuclear warhead issue to deal with. Okay, so Durka Donut is giving a lot of useful information. I'll go through it in a bit. I thought, so Montana is saying, a thought I had was using chemical weapons on Pickaxe Mountain through the vents. I think the problem with that is that the chemical weapons eventually dissipates. You actually need proper, because the problem, the issue isn't right now. The issue is that they will eventually have access to it in a way that would be able to restore it. It will take still like at least a year. Okay, so that's the issue. If this is the case, so I'm okay. I'll read what Shoal is saying. I think they're planning on building the enrichment facilities in Saudi Arabia, but enrichment will be done by the U.S. and Saudi soil. But you make a good point that it will be stopped quickly. No, so I think the issue is that like it's explicitly, Trump said there will be no enrichment of material. Which pertains only to non-military use, such as the ones that Iran and UAE already have. Okay, I mean, the statement isn't explicit. The way I understood it is that the claims that enrichment will occur on Saudi soil is false, because he said there will be no enrichment of material, period. And so if what you're saying is true, then I agree. This is a risk, and this is probably potentially too big of a risk, even if they do during the Abraham Accords, because we don't know if the regime is stable for 30 years, which is what the length of time the deal is for. But if they're not actually enriching on Saudi soil, then it's a much smaller risk profile. And as Starting Fresh is saying, like it's a risk assessment. Like there's some risk in building a nuclear reactor on Saudi soil. But there is a lot of potential here as well. Now, and another thing we have to keep in mind. Okay, so by the way, to quickly respond to Ronnie, the chemical weapons in Pickaxe Mountain is into the vent, like into the facility for nuclear enrichment. That was the suggestion that the person made. I think it was Matan. So it's not about hitting anything other than the facility itself. And I don't think it's illegal to use chemical weapons against like not people, but I wouldn't know. All right, so back to starting fresh. So I mean, it's risk mitigation. There's a lot of upside to it, especially if they're joining the Abraham Accords. You're essentially stabilizing the Middle East by doing this. Especially if the regime in Iran falls, God willing, quickly, like yesterday. Another thing to keep in mind is that the Saudis were also talking to the Russians and the Chinese about building the nuclear reactor. So whatever you want to say about the risk assessment of this move, allowing the Chinese and the Russians to have a foothold with presumably way less safeguards is going to be even worse. Okay. So Sholi's saying, I don't know if Saudi Arabia will risk their people turning on them when they can have China build the nuclear reactors. Can you in regards to the Abraham Accords, I see. So you're saying, well, if this is a condition, I don't know if it was a condition when we signed it, but if this is a condition, then maybe we're just not gonna honor the deal and we're just gonna go with China. Which actually again goes into what I was saying. They have other options. I don't know if this is Trump like applying pressure, like, okay, we already have a deal signed. Now I'm just adding an extra. I mean, it is a persuasion trick. Like they're already invested. They already made the buy. They already agreed to the deal. Now it's, oh, by the way, there's this extra condition. It's like, fine, I'll take your extra condition. Let's just get this transaction over with. Okay, so apparently Joanne is saying Goldie's sister, Goldie Gamari's sister, did a good live on nuclear weapons. So that would be very interesting to watch. I was not aware of this. I'll probably go seek it out. Thank you, Joanne. Once again, people, I remind you, we'll read all super chats. So feel free to send super chats to Liberty Politics. My channel is not able to have them yet. Again, my channel is this. I'm putting it in the chat. It's also in the description. But once I have 1,000 subscribers and also enough watch time on my channel, I will be able to to have super chats as well. Oh, breaking news. The Persian American saying, guys, the coolest Israeli ever. Oh, it's Noah. Hey, Noah. Yeah, so apparently this this news just broke. So yeah, good to know. Where was this reported? Dirk is saying, I think Saudi wants it primarily as a cheaper way to run their desalination plants. So in general, nuclear energy is way more efficient than whatever they're using. Even if, I mean, to be fair, they have a lot of oil, which I guess would be their current method of propulsion for their energy. But in general, like for sustainability, not just environmental sustainability, but for sustainability into the future, you need alternative sources of energy. Yeah, so Bobo is saying 4-gen nuclear is safe. I agree. A point to think about, Matan is saying, a decapitation strike will need to be a few levels deep into the IRGC leadership to achieve the results we want. Absolutely. But I think we have the means of doing that. If Kalibaf and Arakji and those people are no longer safe, I think we can do that. Let's see what else. So starting fresh, I saying Guy and Shaul, great minds think along the same lines. Yeah, I said something and then I saw Shaul wrote the same message, and it happened actually several times already. Okay, so apparently it's illegal to use chemical weapons even on a line with I assume no one, like since 1993. This is Amir, an answer we found on AI. So thank you, Amir, for that. So yeah, so I mean, I thought it wasn't a good solution anyway, just in terms of chemicals are not going to hurt the facility. You need actual bombardment to destroy what they have down there. Okay, so Noah is asking, so has there been any news about the Saudis doing any buildup near Yemen? I don't know about Saudis specifically, but at the very least, Trump, it's one of the things I'm gonna talk about next. At the very least, Trump has mentioned this. All right. Good. So let's move on to some more news before Sapir comes on. All right. So let's go to the Houthis to answer Noah's question. A year ago, the United States of America attacked very powerfully the Houthis for their interference with commerce and trade by shooting at ships. Since that time, and during our conflict with Iran, they've acted very responsibly, everyone's saying it. Unfortunately, now they're starting up again, not good, shooting at 2 Saudi Arabian ships last night. Please let this truth serve to represent that if they do this again, they must not do it again. The US will hold Iran responsible in that the Houthis are a surrogate and or proxy of Iran, and major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran and, of course, the Houthis themselves, who I'm very disappointed with in that they have, until now, acted very professionally and smart, so professional, so smart. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, Trump is essentially saying FAFO. And so Armin, who is this? Armin is not with us today. Armin is going to go live in an hour. I'm Liberty Politics resident Middle Eastern analyst, specifically things related to Israel. But welcome to the show. I also have my own channel if you're interested. It's in the chat. I don't know if you can scroll up. I'll quickly post it again. Some of my videos, I mean, also go up on Liberty Politics, so you can watch me on Liberty Politics as well. All right. So, in other news, I'll do like a quick rundown. Secretary of War Hegseth, the war with Iran has so far cost around $37.5 billion. And he's asking for an additional $67.1 million, which he claims is necessary, that the addition is necessary for war purposes. By the way, you don't do that if you don't at least want to hold to the option of a massive campaign open. Also, Trump wants the president of FIFA to be the next head of the UN. For Israel, this is bad news. He's basically Qatari. He's not Qatari literally, but he lives in Qatar and he considers Qatar to be his second home. However, can't be any worse than Gutierrez now, as far as Israel is concerned. So All right. So I mean, so it can't be any worse than it is right now. Maybe he's going to be more like loyal to Trump. Maybe that's the play. If you want to sunset the UN, which Trump seems to already like be acting for with the Board of Peace and so on. Like maybe that's a way to do it. Sort of like having a Delcy Rodriguez type person, but in the UN, where you slowly dismantle the regime from inside by having a patsy. Okay, so as we all know, negotiations with Iran are not going anywhere right now. They're not. It doesn't seem like a deal is imminent. So Rubio is saying, fortunately, as of now, despite their direct overtures, Iran has approached the United States, both directly and indirectly, to negotiate a resolution to the dispute regarding what is happening in this region. But unfortunately, so far, despite despite the fact that we reached agreements, they have not honored their commitments. Another interesting tidbit is Italy is going to host direct talks between Israel and Lebanon on August 4th for the continuation of the deal with between Israel and Lebanon, which hopefully will eventually get to a peace deal. For the first time in history, in domestic news, domestic Israeli news, for the first time in history, Israel is going to revoke the citizenship of two citizens who have essentially acted against a country. They assisted Hamas. Presumably, they're Muslims, but it doesn't say. And this is so there's a new section to the citizenship rule that allows this, and they can, and now it's going to be used to revoke citizenship from undesirables within Israel. No, not Italy. So anti-Semitic there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not like the framework is already agreed upon. It's just technical situations are just there to host and to say, oh, thank you. So Boboism gave a super chat. Thank you, Boboism. And he just saying, love, guy. Love you too. So this is just Europe trying to be a pick-me and say like, ooh, I'm helping. So far, the European countries have only their interventions have only been bad for Lebanon and Israel relations. So Matan is saying Lebanon liberation is a price for destroying the RGC. With RGC dead, Hezbollah will have no financial support and be left with without support, allowing Lebanon to fight for its freedom. I agree completely. It's not clear which needs to happen first. Whether you take down Hezbollah in order to take down the regime, or you take down the regime in order to take down Hezbollah. If you could take down the regime, it would obviously be easier. It's just not clear that it's a viable thing to do. Oh, let me actually need to send a link to Sapir. I just realized that she's not like this stream is different than the last one. Okay. All right. The Security Cabinet in Israel that decides on war stuff is going to convene on Sunday evening. Now, this is a bi-weekly occurrence. They convene like twice every week, so it's not a huge thing. Like at this point for the last 2.5 years. Alex is asking, has a guy spoken about the Israeli elections in the stream? Yes, I spoke about what's the most likely outcome in the beginning of the stream. So really interesting development. This has been coming for a while. But Achilles' Shield is a new Greek air defense system that Greece is expected is approving with Israel for a total of $4 billion over like 36 months. And this is probably the first of many deals that Israel is going to sign, because Israel is the at the cutting edge of defense systems development. Because of necessity, and also because Israelis are especially good at innovation, and so that has gave us an upper hand, and we're now cashing in by selling defense systems to, at this point, mostly European countries, starting with Greece and presumably Germany, and perhaps others. I think Israel should use this for diplomacy. It's crazy that other countries get to extort demonization of Israel based on like their investments, and Israel is not doing the same. If they're doing it, then we should also be doing it. It's like, okay, well, you want our system, then you can't unreasonably attack us and be against us. All right. Anything else? The U.S. has struck Iran again for the 12th night in a row, and also used B-1 bombers for the first time since the ceasefire. So there is definite escalation. Meanwhile, the IDF is continuing work in the yellow line in Lebanon. So again, I'll show. So these are the regions. It's very small, very small. These are the regions in Lebanon that the IDF currently controls or is agreed upon to control as part of the agreement. And there are many military facilities, tunnels, weapons, stuff like that in this region. So we're constantly like doing controlled bombings of those facilities. And so that's continuing. We have not stopped. And one of those, a big one, happened last night. Okay, so Sapir is not going to be able to come today. She just told me that she's not going to be able to come. But we have more time together, just the two of us, me and all of you. And so, no problem. By the way, I have other guests lined up, really interesting people. Some of them not from Liberty Politics. Depending on the stream, we might talk. Mostly, we'll talk geopolitics, but sometimes we might discuss philosophy as well, depending on the guest, depending on time. I have a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Oh, we have a troll. Okay. Basically calling Zionism Nazi, and it's a child molesting death cult because he read one quote taken out of context. Sorry, two quotes taken out of context from the Talmud without understanding what the Talmud is. I'm not going to highlight the comment. But it's oh, but the Talmud says, you don't know what the Talmud said. It's several, I think, million words, the Talmud, and you don't know the context. You don't know what the Talmud is about. The Talmud is a book of debates, essentially. So the fact that a line is there means that someone at some point said it, because it's just a recording of debates. It doesn't mean that this is Jewish doctrine. It literally says it. How do you take that out of context? Well, someone could say it, and then the other person afterwards says, "What the fuck? No." So I assume what you mean is the issue of like whether a baby is considered a virgin under certain conditions. It's oh, okay. So Sapir is here in the chat, but she's not going to be able to join. It's the context there is it's about whether the child, if they were molested, is considered to have been defiled, meaning that they wouldn't be able to get married. And the context there was say, well, because we don't want the child to suffer as a result, and we're going to say that this doesn't count as a defilement for the sake of the child, not for the sake of the adult, you sick fuck. And also, it's part of a long debate on the topic, and the fact that it says it there. Troll, yeah. So the troll likes Al Zut, yeah, presumably. I'm very well read. I read all the talking points that all the anti-Semites online are saying. Okay, I'm not gonna. If you want me to read your comments from this point on, so Metzitzavape is when you get circumcised. There are several ways of cleaning the blood. It used to be the case that the rabbi would suck a bit of the blood with their mouth, but it's absolutely not sexual. It's just the best way to do it to heal the wound faster. So that's a metzitzavape. And when you're almost 5, no one is circumcised when they're almost 5. But yeah, okay. I'm not going to read your comments unless you donate money to Zionism by buying super chats. Yeah, another issue is what version of the Talmud is a question I like to ask too, not knowing what the Talmud even is. I know it's like a book of debates or court cases. Yeah, so there's 2 versions of the Talmud, the Yerushalmi and the Bavli. Okay, so steak and beans, as Armin likes to call them. With a super chat, 36 shekels. Love those shekels. Hezbollah 6% of the Lebanese army will attack Lebanese, will claim a sporadic event, but now IDF cannot go in since this is against the national army now. No, I mean, they can go in, especially if it's against the national army. If the national army of a country attacks Israel, that's casus belli. That's Israel is allowed to fight that army. Seeing how Durkas kiss a meteor at a temple for Hubal and follow a guy who married a 6-year-old and raped her when she was 5. So one of the things the troll said, which shows they're lying, is no, it happened to me. I was circumcised when I was 5. That has nothing to do with Judaism. If you were circumcised when you were 5, that has nothing to do with Judaism. I don't know what your people, I don't know who your people are, but I don't know what they did. But circumcision at 5 is not Judaism. Okay. Bobo, why do liberals in the West have suicidal empathy? It's a very big question. I don't know if we have time to get into this right now. No, I mean, people in the chat are taking this person seriously. They're clearly lying. They're using all the online things about Judaism that they found on like the Nazi message boards and TikTok. This person knows nothing about Judaism. They have no experience with Judaism. They're just making up a personal experience to strengthen the lie. This person is if someone circumcised you when you were 5, I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with Judaism. You are not circumcised at 5 in Judaism. If you were, it was just something completely different. Okay. All right. So for steak and beans, sorry, I was talking to steak and beans. Let me bring it back up. Can I? So I don't think Hezbollah is 60% of the Lebanese army. It's some percentage of the Lebanese army, presumably around 30%. But even if it is, and even if they attack Israel, then Israel would just start a fight with the Lebanese government, or the Lebanese government would have to like take care of it. But it's not. If a state actor attacks you, that's easier than a non-state actor attacking you. It's not harder. Um. All right. Yeah. Basically, this person is very clearly just making up stuff. They're saying they were adopted. I mean, maybe they were circumcised when they were adopted. I doubt. I highly, 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 highly doubt. Like, and like made Jewish. I highly doubt that though. Because all the other points are just regular Nazi slop. None of it is serious. None of it shows any semblance of having ever met a Jew ever. Yeah, don't waste time on the troll. So I'm gonna put them in timeout just because it's interrupting seeing the other comments. They're not banned. Okay, actually, so all right. So yeah, I'm not gonna waste more time on this other than steak and beans super chat. Yeah, it's too. Yeah, exactly. Starting fresh is saying it's just too distracting, so I muted them. Right. So, Guy, the Metzitzain circumcision is since 3,000 years ago, and the reason is that blood vessels are retracted inside and blocked for a few moments. The suction is to encourage the blood out to stop it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into the actual technical reason for why it's done, but it's just it's for a medical reason. It's not sexual in any way. And anyone who has been at a circumcision, first of all, they usually don't do that anymore. From my experience, but even when they do, it's so very clearly not sexual in any way. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's clearly a Nazi. Oh, okay, so Steak and Beans was a mole assistant. The mole is the one who does this, who does the circumcision. So good to know, Steak and Beans. It's weird how many people adopt Jew hate as their personal brand. Look, I have some sympathy to a portion of them. I've said this before. I can completely sympathize with Groypers. Some of them, because there is a case to be made. They have a really valid grievance with regards to having grown up in a society that has been taken over by woke, that has taught them that they are privileged and wrong, and as a result, and should be ashamed of themselves for existing. And at the same time, society started discriminating against them heavily, so they can't find jobs, they can't get higher education, and so on. I completely sympathize with that. And for some of them, the same people who caused this woke uprising, i.e., Qatar and China, have also led them to believe. And by the way, the reason the reason that you're this disenfranchised is the Jews. So that part I understand. When you get into the levels of derangement that this person did, that's just someone being a man child, not being able to take responsibility for their own life. And because they're such a loser, they constantly need to remind themselves of the scapegoat that they made for why their life sucks. Oh, I'm not a loser. It's the Jews. No, you're a loser. The sooner you realize you're a loser, maybe you'll be able to change it. But blaming the Jews on your problems is pathetic. Okay, so Steak and Beans is saying, again, I'm learning stuff here today. It is not a kosher bris if not doing suction. So now with more awareness to diseases, they use a tube, but it is a must. Okay. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember like that there were Brits that I was in that didn't have the literal Metzitza B'Peh, but yeah, using a tube, I mean, makes sense. Yeah, trolls don't know the word responsible. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. If not, I mean, we might end soon because it's been a respectable time, an hour and a half. Okay, I'll quickly see if there's any new update. Okay, so the Prime Minister's office has put out a statement. The joint American and Israeli military action against the genocidal regime in Iran and Israel's crushing of Iran's terror axis have created the possibility to expand the circle of peace. As President Donald Trump said, Saudi Arabia's joining of the Abraham Accords would be an historic leap forward for peace in the Middle East. Peace through strength. The IRGC is threatening the UK because its planes, the B-1 bombers that were used last night, flew out of Britain. Yeah, okay. See if there's anything else. Okay, no, nothing much. Okay, I just saw. So Jodo is showing a poll. I just saw this one. Yeah. So Tropel and Hendel cannot run alone. This goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream. I think it's probably something like this. I think the coalition and opposition are closer to tied. That would be my hunch. But yeah, so they're not going to be able to run alone. But there are like between 8 to 12 seats. 8 is the conservative estimate for a unity party, and it's going to have to be one unity party. You can't split the votes. And so they're gonna posture, and then they're going to join together, and then they're going to run together as a unity party, and then they're going to force unity government. I don't see the election going any other way. Oh, okay. So maybe the one, so the a kosher bris has to be have to have that tube thing. But I think the one I was in had a doctor. It was secular, and those people weren't particularly interested in religion. So I think that might be why. All right, Sapil, I'm here in the sense of you want to come on so we can continue the conversation we were having last time. Yes. Okay. So Sapil is now on. Hey, Sapil.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you. Good. So before before we move on to talking about Eisenkot,
Mhm.
if you enjoyed what you heard today, I highly appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. It's in the description. I'm putting it in the chat now again. Also, Liberty Politics has several like adjacent channels. So we have Grease Monkey and Ali, who both make very good content. Ali is focused on Iran. Grease Monkey is focused on the Americas. And also join. Okay, there it is. Join the discussion group where we have interesting discussions every day. I lead discussions every Monday at the time that the stream is on.
You mentioned not promoting my stream.
You have one?
I mean, I have my YouTube channel, and I recently started to upload some things,
I was not aware of this.
once and forever.
Okay, so yeah, so put that in the chat, definitely, so that people can know to find you. So Bobo, thank you for the super chat, is asking, when is your next stream, guy? I'm considering streaming Monday's discussion group. If not, then probably Tuesday. Right now, it's I do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday mostly. Hoping to ramp up in the future, and sometimes I might have to move it a day, but that's basically where things are right now. So while Sapir is looking for this, all right, guy who said that Israel would not join the strikes unless the strikes were more than just regular strikes. That was the position that the both people reported on, and also Smotrich said explicitly, like, we're not interested in joining a limited campaign. Based on the reports, the implication there was we will be interested in joining non-limited campaigns, meaning campaigns that are more escalatory and aimed at collapsing the regime. But we don't, like, Israel is not interested in doing more of the same without much upside, even though it would create problems for the country. Oh, and by the way, something I forgot to report on, a lot of local municipalities today have said to prepare the shelters for opening. Presumably or allegedly, because people might be okay, yeah. So Marshflower is confirming that they're bullshitting. So they're preparing the shelters allegedly for the purpose of, in case the regime attacks, but also because this has to be something public. If you're going to attack, you're going to say that it's in case the regime attacks. So I don't know. Oh, E is asking, Guy, do you have any questions for chat? Mostly like how I'm doing, if you have any constructive feedback. I think I gave the troll a bit too much attention.
I think trolls is a great opportunity to bring up certain conversations that you do want to talk about. Certain points.
So I did that at first, and then I think I gave him too much attention after that. Will is so basically constructive feedback, what I can do to improve and stuff like that. Will, now maybe the communists will screw up Israel too, like they have everywhere. Highly unlikely. I mean, maybe economically Israel will go back to being more socialist. I can see that happening. I'm against it, but I can see it happening. But the cultural aspects of it it's not going to happen, because historically we have been one of the demons for communism. And as a result, we're highly unlikely to fall for its like charms, because we know what the dark side looks like, because we've been on the receiving end of it. Yeah, okay. So Joda is saying, a senior Israeli official are interested in joining the campaign depends entirely on its objectives. We don't want to enter another conflict, only to be told to stop after a few days. Yeah, makes sense. Would Israel help Saudis against Houthis? I hope so. I mean, I think it's a good idea for Israel to attack the Houthis. I think it can be a very good thing to advance where we're going. Also, if they're going to, it depends on if they're only blocking Saudi ships or whether they're blocking other ships. I mean, to be fair, if they're blocking Saudi ships,
They're
we're not talking
threatening.
about
They're threatening
the
to
threat.
completely close.
Yeah. So in that case, definitely. In that case, definitely, because the port in Eilat gets 100% of its shipments through Bab el-Mandab. So it's a casus belli, like Israel has a just cause for going into war. If it's just the Houthis, if it's just the Saudis, sorry, that are being blocked, now that talks of normalization have started, it could be a nice gesture. And it's not like the Houthis can do much to us anyway in either case. So Daniela is saying, Guy, if you have questions in Hebrew, please translate the question for those of us who can't read Hebrew. Is this the part of the constructive criticism? If so, completely understood. Okay, I'm gonna right. Oh, by the way, Sapir has posted her channel. So this is Sapir's channel. So I recommend you go subscribe to her as well. As you can tell, she has very interesting things to say from our conversation so far. Steak and Beans super chat, and then we'll move on to the next. Talmud is built of two parts. The Mishnah, which was finalized 1,800 years ago, it existed orally since Mount Sinai, then finalized 1,600 years ago, separately in Babylon and Jerusalem. There's a discussion about Mishnah. Yeah, but so the Mishnah is part of it, and yeah, so there's a discussion about Mishnah. So it's a book of discussions about the laws of Judaism. That's basically what the Talmud is. You have the laws, and then you have, well, what do you do in this edge case, and what do you do in that edge case, and like stuff like that.
It's even further than that. One of the purpose of the Talmud, which is one of the reasons why it's like one of the only religious texts that I do appreciate, is that a lot of the discussions were meant to get to the laws without mentioning God. Basically, to find the logical reason of why this law should be there.
Like the naturalistic reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that I do appreciate about the Talmud.
Yeah. Okay. I was not aware of this. Secular Jews mostly do not open the Talmud like even once in their life.
Yeah, a very religious family, so we have all the everything.
So Jodo is reporting. So this is a Reuters report, so take that for what you will. Reuters also reported that the Iran deal had the Saudi deal had very little safeguards and no condition on Israel and so on. So we don't know how responsible they are. Okay, so the report is that the terror regime sent RDC commanders, military advisors, and missile and drone-related equipment into Yemen this month for its Houthi terror proxy. That's just more to bomb. It's not. If we strike the Houthis, they're in trouble. I mean, they're already in trouble. But this is fundamentally, especially you're limited in what you can send. I don't think this is going to be a. Oh, Shola subscribed, I assume, to Sapir. Thank you, Shola.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to make any fundamental changes to anything. Houthis have an impressive misery threshold. I think this is true of Shiites in general.
There's this a little light-hearted thing about the Houthis. A lot of Israelis don't even take the Houthis seriously because they're Yemeni, and there's so many stereotypes about Yemeni Jews here.
That's also true.
That is just full of memes. Like I remember every time Hezbollah attacks, it's like, oh God, everyone go to the shelter. If it was Hamas, and if it was the IRGC and Hamas, like, everyone go to the shelter, be careful, and then it's like missiles from the Houthis, like, it's just the Houthis.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the last stream. Like, if you're woken up in the middle of the night, there's a missile coming. The first question is, from where?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Do I actually need
If
to
it's
get
like
up? Am I actually going to get up or not?
Don't listen to me. Don't be me. But yeah, no, I stayed in bed most of the times. Not gonna lie.
So I didn't stay in bed, but I went to the not totally up to code shelter at the bottom of the building, as opposed to the one that is up to code, which is across the street.
Well, I refuse to go downstairs like 4 floors to get to a shelter from Houthis missile.
Yeah. So Ronnie's asking, so what, like a secular book of laws? It's not exactly, but I think Sapir is more.
So it's not it's not a secular book of laws, because it's only part of the discussions. Part of the discussions in the Talmud, because keep in mind that Talmud is huge, right? It's many, many, many books. And a part of it was trying to reason the laws of God. Now, keep in mind, some of those reasoning are very strange reasonings, but they're still there, right? So it can be of why we shouldn't eat pork and stuff. It's because the animal is eating filth, and you don't want to eat an animal that eats filth. Like that, so that was like the reasoning. So it's not necessarily a secular book. It's still like the laws of God, but it's like trying to figure out what God meant.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting update. This just happened. Apparently, the Mossad has thwarted an Iranian terror attack. They tried to infiltrate
harm,
with the
Israeli officials
unit. With a unit into Israel, to strike at Israeli officials. So that was thwarted. So they're trying to. Now, if that happens, they're dead. Israel will just strike them until they're dead, and probably they wouldn't be able to stop us.
Yes and no, because keep in mind, have you seen the reports of the 2nd October 7th that Hamas and Hezbollah been trying to do throughout with cells in Europe?
Say that again.
Okay, so in the past few days, there was a massive plan that was finally published and unfolded, with the collaborations of Switzerland, Italy, Spain, and Germany, I think. That they basically stopped a network of Hamas and Hezbollah that were trying to make another October 7th, and they planned it to be in the next anniversary of October 7th to do their own version in Europe throughout multiple countries. Like it was a big thing, like multiple stashes of weapons that were smuggled all throughout Europe. Now, like those things have been constantly happening. So in the end, what we do, what we decide to do, and when we decide to react, that's two different things.
Yeah, but if I'm saying if it succeeds, like for example, October 7th wasn't the first time Hamas tried to infiltrate Israel, but it was the first time they were successful. And once something like that is successful, you have to respond promptly. I don't think you can delay the response, especially if they're hitting Israeli major officials. Okay, so another interesting thing that just came out by Luay Sharif, who's from the UAE, is very pro-Israeli. Oh, Sapir has disappeared again.
I disappeared.
Disappear. You thought?
Never heard that before.
Okay. I warned people in the chat that this would be a dad joke stream, and if they have a problem with it, they can just go watch someone else. I'd rather sit in front of 0 people and make dad jokes than sit in front of thousands of people and not be allowed to make dad jokes. So Jasper is asking, how come some of you guys are in another chat? The stream is also live on Liberty Politics. Okay, Steak and Beans is disagreeing with Sapil. I'm not. I don't know enough about the Talmud to judge, but he's saying this is literally what Talmud teaches not to do. Those reasonings. They say that pork is very healthy and tasty meat. We don't eat it since God says don't.
No, actually, I let me. I saw the. Because I saw this comment, so let me read it exactly. I could just translate it, the verse from Hebrew.
Okay.
So it emphasizes that the prohibition against eating it is a law without apparent rational reason, but it describes that its mouth is dirty, and attributes most of the skin diseases that came into the world because of the scraps that he eats. Basically, so basically, no apparent. There's not like it's not something that is obvious. But then they continue to explain that it's because his mouth is full of filth. Means like they're eating dead stuff, dead meat, things full of disease.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that things can be lost in translations, so this is why I'm like doing a very direct translation here.
Yeah. Okay, I mean that's fair. I'm not one. I can't judge one way or the other. A citizen is asking, would Israel attack RGC differently to what the U.S. is doing? Yes, very differently. We would hit regime infrastructure for the express purpose of destabilizing the regime. That is what we will be doing. And we only want to do it if we only want to join the war if the U.S. is committed to allow us to finish the job. That's what I read between the lines from what Israeli officials are saying. Sean is asking, I'm curious to see if European Jews migrate to America. Sadly, I think the U.S. is going to lose more of its Jews to Israel. I think Jews from outside of Israel will only move to Israel after the war. I don't think they'll trust anywhere else. Tali is asking, is Sapir Iranian? Just wondering. Are you?
No.
No, you're you're Yemenite, right? Or at least
half Yemenite and half Libyan.
Oh, cool. Okay. JT is asking, do you think RGC is avoiding hitting UAE because of its alignment with Israel? No, I don't think so. They're also not really avoiding hitting them recently. From what
they're not really avoiding, but they are focusing Jordan because of the type of bases. So you got to keep in mind that different bases in different parts of the Middle East, they have size to them. In the Jordanian bases, because they're so close to Israel, a lot of the choppers and the jets that are kept in the Middle East of the US, a lot of them are there. So it's a big target. The UAE does have some things and that's why it was attacked before. So it's not like they were avoided. But it just different points of focusing, like different focusing points, different targets, different relevant.
Yeah. All right, so this is an interesting thing that just came out. I thought we could listen to it. This is Luay Sharif from the UAE, pro-Israeli. Yeah, we love him. Responding to Zoran Mamdani.
Dear Mr. Mamdani, Mayor of New York, this is a message from an Arab Muslim who knows the Middle East far better than many in the West who merely think they do. If you truly want to defend humanity and dignity, then I stand with you. but it has to be the dignity of all people. Mr. Mayor, the ideology that deserves to be confronted and its perpetrators to be apprehended is the ideology that has brought mayhem, bloodshed, and chaos to the Middle East. The ideology of the Iranian regime that has murdered thousands of its own people. The ideology of the Houthis who practice modern-day piracy while chanting death to America and curse be upon the Jews. The ideology of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Islamist extremism. It is the very same ideology, Mr. Mayor, let me remind you, that brought down the Twin Towers in your city 25 years ago. The World Trade Center was not simply struck by 2 airplanes. It was struck by an ideology that hates America with every fiber of its being. Your compassion for the Palestinian children is noble. I agree with that. But you remained silent when Israeli children were massacred on October 7th. You remained silent when Kfir and Ariel
And his wife encouraged it.
Bibas toddlers were kidnapped by Hamas. Some within your political circle even called it resistance. In what dictionary, Mr. Mayor, is kidnapping toddlers considered resistance? Or is it because they were Jews? Mr. Mayor, you refuse to say whether Hamas should disarm. Instead, you continue to allow its apologists and propagandists to spread hatred in New York. I visit America often, speaking about one of its greatest diplomatic achievements, in my opinion, the greatest breakthrough in American foreign diplomacy, the Abraham Accords, an effort to reconcile Muslims and Jews, Arabs and Israelis. Yet what I have witnessed on campuses in your city, New York, is nothing short of horrifying. If you truly want to stand for justice, then please reject selective humanity. You can stand with both Palestinians and Israelis. You can support the Palestinian people's right to live in dignity side by side with Israel, not instead of Israel. And you as a Muslim, Mr. Mayor, can recognize the Jewish people's right to live in their ancestral homeland, a land which our prophets, kings, and heroes of Islam called it Israel, including Jesus himself, a Jewish man from the land of Israel, who spoke about the towns of Israel in the Gospel of Matthew. الحق أقول لكم لا تكملون مدن إسرائيل حتى يأتي ابن الإنسان. Verily I say to you, you will not go through the cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes. Mayor Mamdani, many people choose blindness. Those who know the truth have a choice to reject it or to embrace it, because the truth sets us free. May it set you free as well.
That's great. Very diplomatic, but I think that's the right tone for what you would go for here. Okay, Sapir, we don't have much time left, fortunately, but but there's one thing that we like. The very next point from Eisenkot. So last stream we talked about Gadi Eisenkot and his chances, again, for the people who are joining in late. This is Gadi Eisenkot. He is currently the front runner for being the next prime minister in Israel. And he gave he's not talking much now, but he gave a very in-depth interview in 2022, right before he joined politics, that basically laid out a lot of his positions. Now, some of it presumably has changed since October 7th, but still it gives us a lot of good ideas about generally where his mind is. So the next point that we have here is the Palestinian conflict cannot presently be solved, but ignoring it guarantees another explosion. Eisenkot did not claim that a final peace agreement was within reach. He called the conflict deeply rooted and effectively insoluble in the foreseeable future, but he rejected the conclusion that Israel could therefore simply remove it from the agenda. His core argument was another Palestinian uprising was not a question of whether, but when and how. Arguably you can say that was October 7th. Israel's policy of weakening the Palestinian Authority while allowing Hamas to gain money, legitimacy, and influence was strategically backwards. Again, very relevant to October 7th. Continued settlement without a defined endpoint was pushing Israel toward a single binational state, which regarded as the destruction of the Zionist project. So this is what I've been able to gather. He's like basically a classic centrist two-state solutionist. So he wants a Palestinian Authority. Maybe it needs to go through reforms and so on, but fundamentally he wants a Palestinian Authority that will lead a state of Palestine alongside Israel, which for a lot of people would be controversial.
It is controversial, but at the same time, what do you want to do? Like, you won't be able to just expel all the Palestinians,
right?
And you can't, like, what, and even a crossword here of like they don't want peace as a majority, right?
Yep.
And my plan for peace there is a very controversial plan of itself, and it doesn't sound good for a Western audience. So that is something that I might want to discuss with you in private, and maybe you can help me reframe it better.
Okay. I'll say what I think in a second. Or you tell me when you're done, then I'll say what I think.
Oh no, yeah, feel free.
Okay. So, by the way, the person that we just saw speaking to Mamdani is Luay Sharif. This is how you spell his name. Someone in the chat was asking.
Has very great videos. Like, you should follow him.
Yeah, he's great. He's also, I think, he was one of the voices talking about the massacre in January. One of the few voices. Here's several issues that must be put on the table and resolved for the two-state solution to be viable. I'm not fundamentally against it, but I'm against it under anything close to what we have right now. So 2/3 of the Palestinians that support a two-state solution support it as a medium-term solution. Like, yes, it's a two-state solution for now until we can get the rest. Under those circumstances, we can't give them a state from which they would use to further delegitimize Israel and attack the rest of it. I think that the Palestinian Authority should be dismantled because Palestinians. I'm going to move a bit so that so my head is not hidden. It's fundamentally using Palestinians as a tool for making themselves richer. It's corrupt to the bone. It's not helping Palestinians, and I think a solution should either be something like Mordechai Kedar's Emirate solution, meaning that you have independent municipalities with their own autonomy that are coordinating with Israel, and not all of them will get there at the same time, but you can do a lot of great things that way. Like the Sheikhs of Hebron have already said that they want to secede from the Palestinian Authority and be join the Abraham Accords and be under Israel's umbrella. This will be a gradual solution. It'll take time, but you have to dismantle the Palestinian Authority first, because or alongside it, because otherwise they're going to try to enforce their will on the people who want to be liberated from the Palestinian Authority. Again, they haven't had a general election in 20 years at this point.
In the West Bank, they didn't have elections, period.
Yeah, no, I think they just had a. Oh, no, right. The municipal elections just now were in Gaza.
Yeah, the elections were only in Gaza. Okay. The West Bank, they never got to choose their own authority, and this is a big point of contention, because basically this is why Palestinians in general see the Palestinian Authority as an Israeli puppet, because came to power thanks to Israel, to an agreement with Israel, so they never had a choice there.
Yep, absolutely. So and UNRWA has to be dismantled. Whatever, like the UAE, I'm comfortable with UAE being like in charge of the Palestinian education system. They've done a good job for themselves.
I think it needs to be beyond just the education. I think Israel should start coordinating with Arab militaries that we have an agreement with. So and in coordination, I want Palestinians to feel like Israel is not touching them anymore, right? Because they see soldiers, they see from their perspective of a Palestinian child, they see IDF raids, and then they hear about what they tell them about in UNRWA, or the parents tell them. It's very so it creates a very narrow view. So I would love to have a program that would basically the security will be enforced by another Arab country in coordination with Israel, and slowly also have those trips to Israel, like those controlled trips to Israel, so Palestinians can start talking with Israelis.
I think these things happen. I'm not as optimistic on this kind of thing working, like the direct contact approach. But you need to not, at the very least, start from not having an education system that teaches that the Nazis were right. Let's start with that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so a couple of points to talk about, and then we have to end. Okay, so actually, I'll talk about what Eisenkot is saying. Israel should pursue gradual separation, strengthen the PA relative to Hamas, remove illegal outposts, and preserve Israeli security control where necessary. He proposed an interim 3 to 5 year regional process involving Israel, the Palestinians, Egypt, Jordan, the U.S., and the Gulf states, aimed at reducing hostility and improving conditions rather than immediately concluding a final agreement. So I think
I'm gonna stop you right there, because there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem. My problem of like strengthening the PA. This is the same strategy that we had, but with Hamas. Of like, the PA was such a problem. Fatah was such a problem. So let's strengthen Hamas. What can like it is completely. It's very naive to say, let's just strengthen the other party. Like gotta dismantle it, both of them.
So this is one of the things that I hope he fundamentally changed on since October 7th. So just to clarify, Jasper is asking, someone said in the chat, 9-state solution. 9-state, what do you mean? Lots of tiny states? I presume this is a joke. No, it's not a joke. The Palestinians don't intermarry between cities. So they're actually and each city is roughly ruled by a tribe, and they marry inside the tribe. And as a result, they're not actually a state. They're not actually a country with a cohesive identity other than hatred of Zionism. That's the Palestinian movement's defining identity, is that. And as a result, you can have them their own, like the UAE. UAE is actually several states under one umbrella. And it's a similar solution where you have a municipality that is autonomous, that makes its own decisions, perhaps under the wider umbrella of a Palestinian authority of some sort, that is not as powerful, but let's say coordinates across the municipalities. And each one is its own sovereign entity. And under the Israeli umbrella, or joining the Abraham Accords and so on. All right, now we're about to end the stream, but I'm putting in the chat the next stream. There's another stream starting right now between Armin and Monkey, and I highly recommend you go watch that to see all the latest updates about Iran and America and everything in between. Right, and Sapir, thank you for coming.
No problem.
Yeah, we can. There's more to talk about here. We might do it again in the future. So I have Sapir who might come on. I have other guests potentially coming on in future streams. So there's a lot to look forward to. So subscribe to my channel. Join the discussion group subscribe to Sapir's channel, and go watch the next stream. Yeah, Sapir, so someone is asking in the chat, does Sapir have a channel? The answer is yes. So Bobo is saying Mordechai Kedah 100%. Yeah, I think his solution is the most realistic one. So Sapir, do you want to post your channel again in the chat? Someone's asking.
Yeah,
I found it.
Oh.
Texas is saying, I like you two together. Yeah, we had a conversation during the my discussion group on Monday again. And it went really well. So we decided that I'd have her on my stream.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And steaks and beans, believe me, I do not, I've very much oversimplified it. It was very oversimplification. And maybe at some point I'll talk about my detailed solution to this problem, but I need to first think of how to articulate it to a Western audience, because it's a concept that is very hard to understand if you're not from the Middle East.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's fair as a general principle. By the way, so Armin has already started, and we're now encroaching on his time, so we should end now. But let's see if we can on some other stream discuss your idea, and maybe I can try to poke holes at it and see, or challenge it and so on.
Yeah.
And see what happens. All right, great. So goodbye, everyone. Go watch Armin and Monkey, and I'll see you next week.